Welcome to your crow pose tutorial. I'll demo first here. So first, let's go through the pose with attention to alignment and the mechanics of the pose. I'll also point out some common misalignments that tend to happen in this pose that we can try to avoid once we're aware of them. And then we'll run through all the different ways that we can use props to find that first kind of lift off. So in thinking just about what's happening in this pose, our hands are shoulders distance apart, similar to where they would be placed for our chaturanga and plank. But the arms don't quite go into a full chaturanga position. The shoulders won't go as low as the elbows, which you'll see here in a moment. A lot of people teach this from something like yogi squat, but the danger in doing that is that the hips are so low down. In crow pose, the hips are really high up, right? And the higher we can get the hips, the lighter we'll feel when the knees come to the backs of the arms. So I like to start crow pose from this kind of folded position here. So with the feet towards each other, but the knees pointing slightly outward, you would come up high onto your tippy toes, hands are down, and you'll bring the backs of the knees. There's a little nook on the top of your tricep that you'll place the back of the knees on. And in fact, this is something we'll use in more of our arm balances. And you can even kind of press down onto the tricep and kind of hook your knees there. Now, at this point, nothing would happen if I don't shift my weight forward. My feet are kind of glued to the mat. So I can lift one leg up and then start to look forward. I'm still looking down, but forward about 8 inches, and then perhaps the other foot would float up. Now, let's go through some things that will tend to happen if you're new to this pose. So oftentimes I'll see elbows wide this way, bending out to the sides. And if that happens, that would be a good indication that a strap could be really beneficial to you, because it will help you find stabilization by hugging the elbows in. So that might look something like this. So again, knees up on the backs of the arms. You've got the strap there to help you, even if you're not fully balancing yet, just training those elbows in. Another common tendency is that we don't shift forward, so that when we stack, see how my elbows are behind my wrists right now? And a lot of times people are they don't either realize how far they have to shift forward, or it's really scary. They feel like they might fall, and you might fall. But that is something that does need to happen. The elbows need to stack right over the wrists, and that's when you know that you'll be able to take flight there. If the elbows are back here, the hips and everything behind you is just weighing you back down. Another common misalignment or tendency that I see is that students look back at their feet. And if you think about that, what's going to happen is like a somersault, right? Because we're curled into this tight little ball, and if you look back at your feet, then you're essentially coming into a somersault. So when I say look forward, I don't mean up. You're still looking at the ground, but you're not even looking down at your hands. You're really looking about 8 inches forward of your hands, but down, so that everything is moving kind of horizontally on your mat. And then I indicated another common thing that tends to happen here is people just keep their hips really low. And it's really hard to lift everything up and balance on top of your arms if your hips are back here weighing you down. So we'll start again with the hips lifted up. Now, some of you that are newer to this position, another tendency is that the knees will go to the outsides of the arms. Now, for some, that might need to happen. For for various reasons. Maybe there's not enough space, or there's not enough hip mobility or core strength yet to bring the knees right onto the backs of the arms. So in the beginning, if that sounds like you, if your knees need to go out to the side, just to get that initial kind of float off the floor, just let that happen. And then as you start to get more comfortable, you'll bring your knees to the backs of the arms. Now, if the knees are on the outside of the arms, what will tend to happen is that the legs will slide off the backs of the arms. It'll look something like this. It might be happening to you, right? So you want to think of using your inner thigh muscles, the adductors, hugging everything in towards what we call the midline to keep the legs from not sliding. So you're hugging the adductors, the inner thighs. So let's run through this pose together, and we'll use some props here. We'll try out some different things. So the first thing we'll do, if you're brand new to this pose, let's grab a crash pad, like a pillow or a blanket, going to place it out in front of you. Your hands are not going to be there. It's just out in front of you in case your head hits the ground. Another thing is we could use the strap. If you don't have the strap, don't worry about it. But if you have it and you want to check that out, let's try that. Now, because we want the hips up, it can be helpful to place our feet on two blocks to get more lift so that there's less effort of lifting the hips up. Now, the problem with that is you will need some flexibility to get the hands down, right? But just bend your knees as much as you need to do that. So your feet are on the blocks, your hands are shoulders distance apart. Lift your hips up, you're high up on your tippy toes. Your knees are just as wide as your arms, and place them onto the backs of the triceps. Now remember, don't look back at your feet, look forward past your crash pad and feel the shift forward. You don't even have to lift your feet off, and we'll rock it back and let's shift it forward. Use those spider fingers and rock it back. And we'll shift forward. Now hold here. Protract your shoulders. Think of your cat stretch. Lift one foot off. Set it down. Lift the other one off. And set it down. We'll take a little mini break and we'll build on from there. Okay, so coming into position. Lift your hips up, knees on the backs of the arms. Shift your weight forward. Look past your crash pad. Lift one foot, maybe the other, maybe they touch. You might fall right back down. That's okay. Hug your elbows in, thighs in. Lift one foot and then the other, and we'll come back down. Okay, so if that is not working for you, all good. I've got more tricks up my sleeve here. Okay, so the other thing we can do, this doesn't line up for everyone, just depending on your proportions and stuff, but we could try having a block under our forehead. So what that would look like is your hands are here, and you'll have to kind of figure out where that's going to land. So basically you're here. And I'm too close, so I'm going to walk back a little bit, because remember, we have to be able to shift forward. So we're shifting forward, and you might press your forehead into the block and see if you can lift one foot and the other. And if it's not working for you, do try to adjust. So you probably have to go back, a little back farther than you think, so that when you shift forward, the block is there to catch you. So we can try that. And we'll come on down. So let's go through one more round here. Use props or don't use props. We'll start in a forward fold position. Have your hands shoulders distance apart. Come high up onto your tippy toes. Hug your elbows in. Land your knees on the backs of the arms. And from here, remember that seesaw principle. We have to bend the arms, shift our chest forward. And then, in order to float the feet, we have to go even more forward through the chest. See if you can get your feet up, and then you're hugging everything in. Hug in, use your core, spread your shoulder blades away. Okay, I hope that you found some useful tips there, and I'll see you in the next video.